Hello chemistry students. I just wanted to make a quick video to show you how to draw particle pictures. So in chemistry we're always talking about these tiny little particles, atoms that join together to form molecules. Molecules themselves are pretty tiny too, and we can't see them with the naked eye. We can't even see them with a microscope. So instead we have to imagine what's going on at the atomic or at the molecular level. And that's the point of these particle pictures, is for you to imagine what's happening with the atoms in different scenarios under the influence of different factors, and then you draw it out so that you can kind of study and see the differences and the changes that are occurring between them, because that is the study of chemistry, after all, the study of matter and the changes that it undergoes. So we did the molecular commotion lab in class, and one of the things that you need to do is draw particle pictures for the different experiments that you ran. So we tested 3 different factors in this lab. The first factor was concentration, the second factor was surface area, and the third factor was temperature. So let's first take a look at how the factor of concentration affects our atoms and molecules in a chemical reaction. Alright, so I had paused the video so that I could just do a little bit of prep work here. So concentration is really, and I'm simplifying it, but it's really talking about the amount of particles that there are in a substance. And the higher the concentration, the more atoms or molecules there are in the substance. Now, we measure concentration with this capital M, and this is called molarity. Molarity is the number of moles of substance in volume of water. So it's moles over volume, or moles over liters. So what we say when we're looking at this, like 0.1 molar, that's how we would say that. Now in our lab, we used 0.1 molar hydrochloric acid, which is HCl. We also used 1 molar HCl, and we used 3 molar HCl. So the higher the molarity, the more particles there are in the solution. So the more crowded those particles are in the solution. And so all the way over on the right, I made a little key to show you what my next drawing is going to be. So I'm going to use my blue dots in order to create water molecules, and green dots to create my hydrochloric acid molecules. Okay, so I finished my pictures here, and as you can see, in all of my little beakers that I drew, I have the same amount of water molecules. I put 10 dots there, but the thing that's changing is the amount of the green dots. So the beaker that has the acid with the highest concentration has more green dots. We have more acid molecules than we do in the other ones. And so what is this going to do? Well, in your lab, you took some magnesium and you put a strip of magnesium in each little beaker, and what you found was that your 3 molar hydrochloric acid had the fastest reaction rate. It dissolved the metal of magnesium the fastest. So I'm trying to, there we go. So this was the fastest rate. The slowest rate was your 0.1 molar hydrochloric acid. Well, why is the higher concentration of acid going to produce a faster reaction rate than the lower one? Well, the thing to remember about molecules is this. In order for molecules to react, they have to collide. And by putting the magnesium into the more crowded beaker, all the way over here, this is more crowded, we have more molecules in here, there's more opportunity for collisions to occur between the acid molecules and the magnesium. And so the magnesium was able to remove the hydrogen from hydrochloric acid, and it was able to dissolve away. And so for molecules to react, they have to collide. And if you have more molecules, if it's a more crowded environment, then you're going to have more collisions, and that produces a faster reaction. And so down here in this text box, I just summarized what we were talking about. So for molecules to react, they have to collide. And if molecules are crowded because there are more of them, they have a higher concentration, then those molecules are going to experience more collisions, and the reaction then will proceed at a faster rate. And so if I were to depict that with my magnesium metal, so let me just draw that out here. So here's my magnesium metal, and I'll have, again, my green dots for my hydrochloric acid. Then what's going to happen is that we're going to get many more collisions between our hydrochloric acid and our magnesium metal, whereas with our 0.01 molar solution, we have fewer of these hydrochloric acid molecules, and so we're not going to get nearly as many collisions as we do with our 3 molar. And so that's why the rate is the slowest in a lower concentration, and that is why it is the highest in the higher concentration. All right, so the second factor that we looked at was surface area, and to study this, we used like a half of an Alka-Seltzer tablet, and like a whole half, I guess, and then we took another half and we put it into the mortar and we ground it up with the pestle. So what we're looking at is surface area. Now, the thing about surface area, which is defined as the amount of space on the surface of a three-dimensional object, but the thing about surface area I think that confuses students is this. Bigger objects have low surface area, while smaller objects have a higher surface area. So let me just show you what I mean by that. All right, so I really enjoy wrapping presents, whether it's like for holidays or for birthdays or anything. So I think a lot about wrapping paper and how much I'm going to need. So if I were to take this Rubik's Cube and prepare it to give as a gift to somebody, you know, I would just have to worry about covering each side. So I'd have to cover this side and this side and this side. There's 6 sides to a cube. I would have to cover all of those with some wrapping paper. And I mean, it wouldn't take much to do that. You know, Rubik's Cube is not that big. But what if I was feeling kind of snarky, joking around, and instead of just giving my friend a Rubik's Cube like this, I mean, this is kind of boring. Like, why not make it a little bit of a mystery, right? I could take this Rubik's Cube apart like this, and I could wrap each individual little cube that makes up that Rubik's Cube. Now, that would take a lot more wrapping paper in order to do that, because now instead of just 6 sides, I'm going to have, oh gosh, what, 9, I'm going to have about, what, 27 sides? Or 27 like smaller cubes that have 6 sides each, or that have 6 sides each, in order to wrap that. So that's going to be a lot more work, first of all, but it's also going to be a lot more wrapping paper. So here I'm going to have 27 little cubes with 6 sides each. So my point here is this: the smaller the object, the more surface area it has. All right, and so if I were to draw a picture, this will be my whole Alka-Seltzer tablet, and then on this side I'll have my crushed Alka tab. So I'm going to really zoom in here. And for my Alka-Seltzer tablet, I'm just going to draw this these little black circles like so. And then for my water, I'll use blue. So here's my water, and then here is my Alka. Okay. So my whole Alka-Seltzer tab, that's a solid. And so solid particles are going to be very close together because they're solids. They're not moving around very much. And as you can see, the inside of this is like completely covered because I've got all of these molecules that are right up close next to each other. And so when I draw out my water molecules, again, which I'm using here, the only place that the water molecules can like collide with the Alka-Seltzer tablet is over here on the outside. And so my reaction rate is going to be low. So remember, RXN is reaction. All right, so on this side, I drew my ground up Alka-Seltzer, and because I took that Alka-Seltzer and I ground it up into little pieces, I've got like chunks that are going to be separated from each other, and so that's what these black dots are at the bottom of my beaker here. And again, my water molecules are these little blue dots, but look at what happens. Now I have all of these surfaces that I'm just drawing in this raspberry color. Look at all of the surfaces that I have for the water to really get in there in a lot of different places and collide with the Alka-Seltzer. So the water can go in between all of these little pieces. And that's why the reaction rate is faster with the crushed Alka-Seltzer tablet, because we have more surfaces upon which there can be a collision and thus a reaction. So there's more surface for a collision and a reaction to occur. Okay, so I just wanted to show you what I finished writing up here. So for the whole Alka-Seltzer tablet, we have a low reaction rate because there are less places for collisions and thus reactions to occur. But if you grind it up, you're exposing more surfaces to the water, and so you have more locations for collisions and reactions to occur. So by increasing the surface area, so high surface area, is going to give us a higher reaction rate. Low surface area is going to give us a low reaction rate. So the last factor that we looked at in this lab was the effect of temperature on reaction rate. Temperature is a measure of the energy and thus the movement of molecules. So molecules at a high temperature have lots of energy and they are moving around, zooming around really fast, whereas molecules that are at a low temperature have less energy and they exhibit less movement. So what I've got drawn down here is like 3 little beakers. We took some Alka-Seltzer tablets and we dropped them into hot water, room temperature water, and cold water. So let's take a look at the effect that the temperature has on the water molecules. Okay, so let's start with our hot water, our molecules in hot water. By adding heat from the hot plate to the water itself, these molecules are going to start moving around very, very fast. So they're just going to zoom, zoom, zoom. I'm just going to draw these little zoomies, zoom, 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 zoom. So I've got 3 zoomies here because these water molecules are moving around super duper fast. And what happens when you move around really, really fast? Well, you are more likely to collide with other things. And that is exactly what happens with our Alka-Seltzer. So when I put my Alka-Seltzer tablet, and again, it's a solid. We didn't grind it up this time, so I'm just going to draw it with all of my little molecules really close together. And so now that these water molecules are zooming around really, really fast, they are going to collide with my Alka-Seltzer tablet more times, but also with greater force. And that's going to cause the reaction rate to happen faster. I mean, you guys are in driver's ed right now. If you're driving 2 miles an hour and you hit a light post, then there's not going to be as much damage to the car or to the light post as there would be if you were driving in the parking lot at, say, 15 or 20 miles an hour and you hit that light post. Your car's going to sustain a lot more damage because there was a lot more energy in that collision. Well, that's the same thing that's happening here. These water molecules are hot. They have a lot of energy. They're moving around very, very quickly, and therefore they're like the car traveling at a higher rate of speed and then colliding with something else. The transfer of energy is greater because of the speed at which it was traveling. So since these molecules are traveling around faster, they're going to collide with more force with the Alka-Seltzer tablet. They are also going to collide more frequently. So those are the 2 factors that are going to make the Alka-Seltzer react faster or dissolve faster in the hot water. Now, if we take a look at the cold water, it's going to be a little bit different. Here's my Alka-Seltzer tablet that I'm drawing in the cold water. But with my cold water, they're not moving very much. We took some ice and we put it into the water, and now my molecules are not moving around very much at all. They only get 1 little zoomy tail instead of 3. So they're just kind of, going along at their own pace. So now, if they do, first of all, the number of collisions is going to decrease. So we had 5 in our hot water. I'm going to just draw maybe like 2 in our cold water. So not only is the frequency of collision going to go down, but so is the energy of the collision. The force with which they collide is also going to go down, and that is going to produce a very slow reaction rate. And then finally at room temperature, I'm sure you can kind of deduce what this is going to look like. It's a little bit warmer than the cold water, but it's cooler than the hot water, so they're going to get just 2 little zoomy tails showing you that they're moving around at a medium rate of speed, and they are not going to collide as much with my Alka-Seltzer tablet as my hot molecules did, but they will collide more than my cold. So let's just give 3 little collision X's there to show that. And so my room temperature water molecules are moving around at a medium pace. You're going to have a medium number of collisions, and those collisions are going to happen with a medium amount of energy. So your Alka-Seltzer in the room temperature water is going to dissolve, slower than the hot water, but faster than the cold water. Okay, so this is my summary of these pictures. So if we take a look at our hot water, our water molecules are moving very quickly because we've added energy to them by warming them on the hot plate, and therefore they're going to zoom around really fast. They're going to collide with the Alka-Seltzer more frequently, so more often, and with lots of energy, and therefore we get a high rate of reaction. The Alka-Seltzer dissolved the fastest in the hot water. If we look over at our cold water, our water molecules are moving slowly. They collide with the Alka-Seltzer less frequently, so we don't have as often a collision. And those collisions happen with less energy because the molecules are moving more slowly. And we have a low rate of reaction. And I didn't really draw anything here in the room temperature because, this is just going to be, somewhere in the middle. So everyone, I hope you understand now how to draw some particle pictures, and I also hope that you understand now how the 3 different factors that we studied in this lab, temperature, surface area, and concentration, how all 3 of them affect reaction rates. Remember that it's all about collisions and the amount of energy with which those collisions occur, and that's what determines the rate of the reaction. All right, I'll see you all in class. Bye for now. I hope you liked this video and that you learned a lot.